Take a look at this salary diagram. Over 60% of Americans earning six-figure incomes are living paycheck to paycheck. They bring in a high salary, pay their bills, and by the end of the month, their accounts strain right back down to zero. Contrast that with the wealthiest 1% of the population. 75% of them are entrepreneurs, 15% are investors, and exactly 0% are simply employees earning a salary. The dividing line between these two groups is ownership. The wealthy own assets and businesses that generate cash in the background. The middle class are caught in a cycle designed by modern consumerism, paid just enough to cover food and shelter, keeping them completely dependent on the next payday. You can break that dependency using the 25-15-50-10 rule. It is a strict mathematical strategy for routing your income the very second it hits your bank account, locking your money into designated systems before you have the chance to waste it. True wealth building is not a result of securing a higher salary. Earning more cash only creates lifestyle inflation. Wealth is the result of building an automated system that dictates exactly where every dollar goes before you even see it. This chart tracks the cost of hesitation. The first 25% of your income is your growth engine. If a 20-year-old invests $200 a month and a 30-year-old invests $300 to catch up, the person who started earlier still ends up with nearly a $600,000 advantage by retirement. Waiting destroys your compounding potential. The most effective destination for that 25% is an automated, hands-off setup like a three-fund portfolio. This pie chart breaks it down into a highly stable mix: 60% in a U.S. stock index like the S&P 500, 30% in international stocks, and 10% in government bonds to absorb market shocks. By holding that U.S. index fund, you are buying fractional slices of the 500 largest American companies. You automatically capture decades of blue-chip innovation, like the engineering that built the original Mac, without having to guess which specific tech stock will win. You have to shelter those assets in a tax-advantaged account. If you are in the U.S., that means a Roth IRA. In the U.K., an ISA. You invest money you've already paid tax on, and every penny it earns from that point forward grows completely tax-free, legally bypassing thousands in capital gains. Billionaire Peter Thiel used a Roth IRA to buy shares in early-stage tech companies. By securing those assets inside that specific account structure, his investments eventually grew to over $5 billion, entirely shielded from taxes. Automating your first 25% directly into growth assets shifts your economic reality. You stop being a laborer trading time for a paycheck, and you become an owner quietly capturing global market equity. The next 15% builds your stability shield. Most people operate with zero margin for error. A single unexpected crisis, like the engine blowing up on your commuter car, triggers a domino effect. You put the repair on a credit card, interest compounds, and you start sliding backward. To calculate the exact size of your shield, add up your absolute monthly baseline: rent, essential groceries, and basic utilities. Take that bare minimum survival number and multiply it by 5. That specific cash amount must follow 3 strict rules. First, it must be accessible within 24 hours. Second, it carries zero market risk. Do not put your emergency fund in stocks or crypto. Third, it sits in a high-yield savings account, an insured bank account that pays interest, so inflation doesn't eat away its value while it waits. The stability shield will not make you wealthy. Its actual purpose is to buy you psychological peace of mind, ensuring a sudden medical bill or job loss never forces you to liquidate your growth assets at a massive loss. 50% of your income is capped for essentials. This strict limit prevents lifestyle creep, the trap of upgrading your house and clothes every time you get a raise just to look wealthy to strangers. To stay under that 50%, you have to ruthlessly control your 2 largest wealth killers. That means avoiding brand new, heavily financed cars that lose value the second you buy them, and aggressively negotiating your rent or splitting housing costs to keep your overhead artificially low. For daily spending, enforce a strict 7-day pause. When you feel the impulse to buy something you didn't plan for, force yourself to wait a full week. Most of the time, the dopamine hit fades, and you realize you never actually needed the item at all. This matrix shows how the wealthy calculate real value. A $60 pair of durable boots worn 100 times costs 60 cents a wear. A $200 pair of designer sneakers worn twice for the logo costs $100 a wear. Capping your lifestyle expenses at 50% forces a permanent shift in perspective. If you want a nicer apartment or a better car, you can't just expand your essentials budget. You have to go out, build new skills, and increase your total income. The final 10% is allocated strictly for rewards. If you try to save every single penny and ignore the present entirely, saving feels like a punishment. Extreme financial restriction inevitably leads to burnout and massive binge spending. You solve this with a joy jar. Set up an entirely separate, automated checking account where 10% of your income lands every month. This cash is exclusively for guilt-free experiences, vacations, hobbies, and gifts for your family. The joy jar has a hard boundary. When the account hits zero, your spending stops until the next month. You never pull cash from your growth engine or your stability shield to fund a weekend trip. Think of this 10% as a mandatory financial cheat meal. It removes the friction of strict discipline and makes decades of aggressive wealth building psychologically sustainable. Looking at this complete flowchart, you can see how the system operates without willpower. A single paycheck arrives and is automatically routed into 4 streams: securing your future, protecting your present, capping your lifestyle, and rewarding your discipline. True wealth is invisible. It sits quietly in index funds and cash buffers. Consumer debt is loud, driven by inescapable, constant brand marketing designed to extract every spare dollar you have. Breaking out of that cycle does not require a massive inheritance or a lottery win. It requires an immediate, deliberate commitment to mathematically reprogramming how your cash flows the moment you earn it.